Cropping in Affinity Photo may seem pretty trivial, but there are some things to know as you go about doing so. To access the crop tool, you can click the tool in the tools panel here, or just press C on your keyboard. If you press that, you'll see some new guides appear, as well as some handles to click and drag and unconstrained. Some things that might go unnoticed as you go about this mode is there are different presets for continuing to crop in certain ratios, certain pixel densities, etc. You can add your own presets even. So if you wanted to print a photo, for example, say you downloaded one that wasn't quite 6x4, if you can go ahead and resize that cropping area to this dimension. Obviously this photo is massive, so this 6x4 inch is quite small, so we'd have to actually resize the photo first to make a full effect here. That's one key thing you can do. So that applies towards any of these proportions. You can also just go in proportions by adding a 8x10, 5x7 kind of preset. You can add another if you'd like to. You can go about that and do it in this way. So 16:9, and you could change that to whatever you prefer. So when you do that, you can just add that preset name when you click add preset. So we have 16:9 now. And there we go. So that's kind of established there as a preset now in our document. Great. I'm going to go ahead and delete that. I just don't really need it. So I'm going to cancel out of that. We can go back into the mode. And some other things to talk about as you crop something. Right now it's in unconstrained mode. Like I just mentioned, you can turn it into any particular mode you prefer. Absolute dimensions, make sure the things when you drag and drop that it sticks to a specific pixel. There's no like half pixels or anything. The same is true for whatever metric unit you're using or measure unit. And if you were to want to have an overlay, a nice effect here is to apply a thirds grid, which is what I have now. You can have none, which just has the bounding box, or you can have the golden spiral, which helps more or less balance out a subject in a photo. So in this case, if I skew this in such a way that this amusement park ride would, look the best, we could crop it to something like that matches that subject. So you kind of want the focal point to be at the golden spiral. And we could crop just like that, and you could hit apply, and just in your own sense of design there, you can have a cropped photo using that effect. So say you go to a cityscape, you could do something in a similar manner, but do things in a diagonal approach. So using this overlay, say I just want a square. So if I move this over, I've got that aligned. I can hit apply, and now we have a square image. Say the image itself is kind of crooked, and it's actually not in this case, but if you wanted to, you can actually straighten that image based on a path in your photo. Typically you want to find a path that's fairly straight to begin with. So if you go through and just kind of shift click in this mode, once you click that straighten button, use this as your rule. So this is going to basically look at that line and shift the image itself in such a way that will straighten it to that line. So obviously that's a terrible example, but that's how you could approach that. So say you have a building or something you want to align the image to, and it wasn't quite shot in a perfectly aligned fashion, you can totally manipulate your photo to be that way with this quick straighten tool. So once you click that button, you enter this mode, you can draw a line in your photo and it'll adjust itself. And you'll see outside of that, you can hit crop and it will go ahead and apply that. But there is some space that's going to be transparent in the photo now, so you'll actually need to recrop, probably in an unconstrained fashion, and just apply your settings again. So now it's all straight, and looks like I forgot a bit down at the bottom, so maybe I'll tweak that a little bit. So you'll have to go ahead and compensate there, but that is the risk you take in shooting a photo that isn't quite central or centered. Another effect that we can try is to rotate the crop itself. That's nice. So say the guide that you want isn't quite to spec. If you want to just kind of quickly manipulate it, you can go ahead and do that using this thirds overlay. And the same is true for the spiral in this case. See how it's rotated there again. You can continuously rotate that as you please. And a nice effect that if you are cropping and you turn on that darken border option, you get a little more obvious preview of what you are cropping to. So that's nice. But in this case, we'll go ahead and crop things just as is. And we are done. So that's a quick guide to cropping in Affinity Photo. It's pretty powerful. You can have tons of presets, use the ones that are already here, and go ahead and straighten up images if you need to. The overlays themselves are very helpful in terms of positioning subjects in your photo in such a way that make it more of a composition. And then of course the darken border option is great for just zeroing in on the crop itself.